Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. Well, hello. Welcome. It is the Daily Dish, and today is Tuesday, so that means we are live. And we apologize for the delay. We had a little kerfuffle with the tech, as it happens sometimes. Sometimes Facebook is our friend, and sometimes Facebook is not. Today was one of those not days. But I see that Catherine's already here, and I know that a lot of you are already coming in, and thanks for being here. This week we have all kinds of things going on, and I'm so delighted to share several things with you. And first things first, and I never do this, but I'm going to do this today. Open with the quote of the week because it's so good. Either you run the day or the day runs you. And this is something that I have been really working hard on, right? I've been working very, very hard on it. I've been working hard on this because it's so easy to let time slip through your fingers. And it's the only true currency that we have, at least for that day. The preciousness of time cannot be understated or overstated, right? And there's Yolanda. Good to see you. Okay, and Yolanda's asking for an update on Mark. Mark is doing remarkably well. As you know, he got pneumonia, and he got it from an injury, which is super odd. And I'm sharing this with you just in case somebody else you know has ever been through something like this. He was out with an owl, AWAL, the big heavy thing, splitting all these logs. We had these huge logs all left over from the hurricane. People let us pick it up, and we're using it for our wood burning stove. Anyway, he was out there for like a couple hours, and I thought, boy, he's really overdoing it, and he's going to come in and be tired and sore and all that. He came in and he was holding his side, and he pulled a muscle, and it caused him to shallow breathe. Shallow breathe instigated pneumonia. At first, we thought he had a collapsed lung. Isn't that awful? And then we found out that it was pneumonia. And they, of course, said, oh, at your age, blah, 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 it's going to take weeks and weeks and weeks. Well, it's been 2 weeks. And yesterday he played pickleball for the first time. And he's been very good about taking his supplements and getting enough sleep and drinking and hydrating and all of that. So things are on the up and up. Thank you for asking, by the way. I appreciate that. That's so sweet of you, Yolanda. And I'm proud of him. He's bucking the odds, and he's doing a lot of positive things to help with, lung function and all of that. It's really important. Deep breathing is something that we all need to put into a part of what it is that we do. I do it when when I'm meditating. I do some deep breathing exercises just to get myself into the state, if you will. Yes, isn't he it's so good. I'm so glad. Hey, Lynn, by the way, Jocelyn, nice to have you here. Yeah, he's doing really well. And I know y'all have been praying for him. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And so does he. Golly, it's just, there's always something in there. There's always something to be looking at. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that I've got a brand new course coming out that I'm really excited about, and it's called Take Back Your Energy. One of the things that I have noticed as a thread of commonality in women that I've either laser coached in our groups, in either book club or one-on-ones that I do on occasion or whatever, there's a continuum there. There's one plumb line. There's one thing that I keep saying. It's like, oh, well, if I had the energy. And I want to tell you something that I have dug deep into as I am, weeks away from turning 67. It's so hard to say. but I have energy that, for my age is pretty decent. Why is this? I mean, there's certain things that I've slowed down and whatever, but there's a bunch of stuff that I can believe I can bring to the table, and also the latest research on what it is that we need to do and how we need to also honor our body's personal chemistry. And this is what this course is about. There's so much information and research and everything else that I'm doing 8 classes on it. Comes with a workbook, and it's self-led so that you don't have to freak out and be ready, like, oh, I'm not ready for class. Okay, you do it on your timetable. Because that's one of the other things I've had a lot of people say, that it's just sometimes things go a little too quick. I don't want that for you. I want you to be able to glean this information, apply it to your life, and watch how your energy levels change. It really is something, and it is something that all of us can get our hands around. It is so massively important. This is the thing that differentiates us from, being our age and defying it. Okay? That's all I'm going to say about that. But you can find it. We are in pre-sale mode. That means you're going to get a great price for it. That means we have like 2 sessions that are ready to go out next week. We'll be starting it next week. The workbook's done. Everything's done, but it's still in process, and you get to take advantage of that. Go to savingdinner.com/energy for all the info. And there's our Jane. Hello, Jane. I sure hope you will join us, Jane. I think this would be really super helpful. And plus, you don't have the pressure because it's self-led, so you don't have all of that. I'm very excited about it. We've already had a lot of people say, yes, I want to be a part of this. So I'm hoping this is something that you'll say yes to as well. That's another thing. The other thing is, as we are getting ready for our Recreate Your Life book club, tonight we're going to be setting the expectations, and we're starting, with The Seed of the Soul by Gary Zavoff. I can't say his name right now, but it starts with a Z. It's right over here somewhere. What a book. What a book. And it is a mind blower. It's heart, mind, body, and soul. This is kind of how we're going through all of these different books. And this book club, the books are incredible. And one is written by a friend, Srini. I wrote the book, one of the books that we're doing. And then another one is Dr. Casey Means on energy, believe it or not. And this is also another reason, another spark for this particular course that I'm doing as well. So it isn't too late if you want to join the Recreate Your Book Club. It's not too late. You can get just one session if you want. Go to savingdinner.com/recreate. You can also get a better deal if you decide to join all the book clubs for the year. There's 4 of them because we do one a quarter. Anyway, it's exciting and it's fun. And I hope if this is something that's on your plate, like, ooh, I would love that, come on down. It's open to you. savingdinner.com/recreate. Then, of course, we always have a little special of the week. And this time, one of my big wishes, one of my deep wishes is that I could plant a little seed in every single person who's ever struggled with any kind of food thing or diet thing or food compulsivity or whatever. And it's called Getting Off the Carousel Crazy. And I wrote it a couple of years ago because that's what I believe the diet culture is just absolutely crazy. Goes around and around, up and down, and it goes nowhere. And it's really not that entertaining at this age, The diet culture picks our pockets and leaves us with nothing, except here's a new diet the next week. Here's a new book for you to buy. Here's a new gadget. Here's a new this. Here's a new that. And it's just $160 billion a year they're making off our fat butts. And it annoys the heck out of me when we understand and put together the mindset piece. And this is what we need to know about food, because nutrition is information. And when we are informed about the science of nutrition, we can start to dial things in to our benefit. That's what this is about. And there's a workbook that goes with it. And then I threw in the Beautiful Me. It's a self-care journal. That's lovely. And so many of us need it because we don't self-care ourselves enough. This isn't about spa treatments and, making gorgeous bath bombs, although that could be a part of it. It's about understanding that you belong in the priorities list and that you can do this by understanding who you are and what you are about and whose you are, by the way. All right. You can find that at savingdinner.com/show. And I will sign every single one of those Carousel of Crazy books. If you're ready to get off, I'm ready to help you. Yes, Lynn says she remembers that. All righty. So anyway, are you ready? We've been discussing universal laws. And I find them interesting, especially last week, we discussed the law of cause and effect. And I said, it's kind of like reaping and sowing. Well, this week it's the law of compensation. And compensation is kind of the same thing, reaping what you sow. And oftentimes it's kind of like, well, they just lump them together. But I say, no, we're not going to do that because the law of cause and effect is a little bit different than the law of compensation. And especially we're talking about the law of compensation because it deals directly with the return you receive for the energy you put out. It's more energetic. So, paying it forward is the form of energy that you're putting out kindness and goodness and gratitude, or is it a bunch of negative stuff? Because that's also going to come back on you. And we also understand the science of the reticular activating system and the way that your brain works and all of that. So we know that they're all kind of interrelated and strung together and a part of each other. We need to start seeing things a little more holistically, in my opinion, and quit dividing things out. Your house is not just your bedroom. Your house has a room in it that's dedicated for your sleeping, but there's way more to it than that. And if you want to get really granular, there's way more to it than what we can see with our naked eye, right? If we start tearing apart walls, we see a whole lot of different stuff. And believe me, I've seen enough of that to last me a long, long time. There's been a lot of stuff going on around here. And I just told Mark, put it on hold. We've had enough. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the law of compensation today because to me, it's receiving what you deserve. Because if you are going to be putting out that excellent energy and the goodness that you want to project out to the world, it will come back to you. And I want to discuss how that is, and also, how much deeper the law of compensation goes. The thing is that you can, the return is measured and distributed a little bit differently. This is what it says. It states you will always be compensated in direct proportion to the effort, service, or energy you give, positively or negatively. So, for example, like the law of cause and effect, you work hard on a project, you get a promotion, your effort led to a result, versus the law of compensation is the level of mastery and value you bring to your work determines how much compensation you receive. Your quality then determines the quantity of return. I think that's so interesting, don't you think? So if we think of the law of compensation as the currency of the universe, I know woo-woo, then we can understand that it governs how and when rewards show up based on the value and the depth of what it is that you're contributing. And this is a call for us to understand that what we are doing is a contribution. We can't just throw anything out there in the world. We can't be careless with our words and with our actions because there is a compensation in return. Always. So this is a deeply philosophical thing, and you might even say it's metaphysical and woo-woo. Okay, you can go with that. However, science backs up the core principles, and this is what we're going to go through. Number one is the neuroplasticity, because you are training your brain and your brain's reward system. We know about this and we understand how that works. And when we understand that our brain will continually rewire itself based on the effort and the focus that you put on those different things in your life. And that's what neuroplasticity shows us. It shows us that the more effort you put into mastering a skill or improving yourself, the stronger your neural connections are going to be. One of the things that I have started to do with like my drive to go play pickleball is, instead of turning on the music and just searching around for a song that I like, I'll turn it off and I will go through some affirmations. I'll go through my goal affirmations. And then I will also go through what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. And then what I will also go through is some things that I want to believe about myself and I'm working on, and saying this in the affirmative way. I can't even tell you how powerful that is. It's like 10 minutes, but it's 10 minutes of time that I can direct to, I know what I'm doing in my head. I know why I'm saying these things, not for fun. I'm doing it because I'm training this brain of mine. I need lots and lots of training. So the other thing that we need to understand is that our brains are seeking patterns of reward, right? So if you consistently work towards something with intentionality, your brain is going to look for what it is that you're seeking, period. And it will adapt certain things that maybe you used to do just automatically, but instead you take a step back and you think about it this one time because of this neuroplasticity. Yeah, do you like that? Jane likes that. Lynn likes that. I love this. This is, and let me, a side note on what this is. We are capturing time in something that's a mundane type of you know, a thing otherwise, just on the radio, listening to whatever, or you can listen to podcast or whatever it is that turns your key. But this is a redemption of time. And it's also using it to your benefit so that we can, kind of push the buttons on the law of compensation a little bit here, right? I'll tell you about the other thing that I have, if I remember. I'll tell you about the other thing that I am also looking at redeeming in a minute. But, the shortness and the briefness of time, and, that we've had some deaths of friends, of people that we've loved. We've all have. Nobody gets through this life without it coming to an end. Am I right? So you think about the brevity of time, and you think about the preciousness of time, and therefore it is to our best interest to redeem as much of it as we possibly can. So let's remember this, because your skills, your mindset, your habits, all of this stuff shapes the opportunities that come your way. They do, because it changes the way that your brain is looking for the different things. That's the reticular activating system. And your brain is ensuring that your compensation reflects what's going on inside. Your growth and the way that you are starting to see the world, and your focus, the way your neural pathways are being developed, and especially the new ones, all of that growth is getting reflected back in this compensation. Think about that for a minute. It's a lot. It's heavy, but it's true. It's true, because this is neuroplasticity. This is the way your brain operates. Also, there's behavioral economics, because your value determines compensation. So the science of behavioral economics confirms that value is the key factor in compensation. We know this. We see it in businesses. We see it in relationships. We see it all around, in our lives. But also, this is important. The most valuable players in any field, what do? They earn the highest compensation, right? And we could have a whole philosophical discussion on that. But this is true. Like if you're in a corporate job and you're working your way up the ladder, you see this in your compensation package, right? Think about it, the compensation package. What do you look for in a compensation package? You look for, they're going to give you they're going to give you all these benefits. They might contribute to your 401k. They might give you stock options and health benefits and an HSA and all of these big, fat, juicy benefits. And higher up, the more valuable you become in a company, you earn the most in this benefit package. It's the same thing. This is a compensation. This is how this works. And so the other thing is, and think about this for a minute, those who solve the biggest problems, the bigger problems, receive greater rewards. Now, hey, Miss Nancy, it's good to have you here. I will tell a quick story. When I started Menu Mailer way back in the day in 2001, this was solving a problem that people had. They didn't know what was for dinner. They didn't know how to plan. They didn't know how to cook or whatever. And I went in there and solved these problems. This created a business. It also created an industry because there were others that followed. It also created a solution to those who were struggling and gave them skills and gave them ability to do things. And I'm really super proud of that. I started that. That was my big idea way, way back. Menus, recipes, shopping lists. Add in the cooking, help them out, do the videos, do all of this stuff. And it did. I still get texts and emails and what have you from people who say, you taught me how to cook. I know how to have, X, Y, and Z because of this. This is why it's really important that we risk and we step out and we depend on the courage that is inside of us, knowing it's there when we take that step toward solving a problem. Sometimes the problem is yours to solve, and sometimes it's for the greater good of others. Just take a look at it. We have the ability to do that. So the law of reciprocity is something else that comes into this, because this is what psychologists have found, that people naturally feel compelled to return what they have received. Isn't that true? I feel that way. It's called the law of reciprocity. And I don't know if this is in the 12 laws, but anyway, when you provide a genuine service, when you are generous or give somebody value, they are more likely to come back to you and say, you have helped me out so much. What can I do to help you? That's just how it is. I mean, we could pay it forward at Starbucks and buy somebody a latte in front of us. I mean, I think that's low level stuff. But the other thing is, we can really help somebody to shine. We can really help somebody and bring something out that is their natural gift that they can't see in themselves. This is, what this does too, by the way, this is seed planting for later. Because sometimes when you give without expecting any immediate results whatsoever, you'll find that you've created a future wave of abundance for yourself. You've planted that little tree, you've watered it, you've fertilized it, you've done all these different things to it. You've genuinely put yourself out to be that person. It does come back to you. It does. And, letting go of the expectation that something is coming back has been one of the most freeing things I've ever been able to do in my entire life. Strongly recommend it, because then there's a way that I believe God comes back and says, you know what? Well done, my good and faithful servants. And then something delightful happens because of it. And that's just, I think that should be our hearts. This is the something that we can train our hearts to be. So how do we, apply this law of compensation in our lives? Well, number one is to stop focusing on just the effort and focus on value. Focus on the value, because it's not hard work that creates the compensation. It's value. That's what does it. This is one of the things that when I'm driving, I told you about my little 10-minute uh, speaking out loud, my affirmations and stuff. One of the things that I'll ask, I am creating value in my community. I am, my mission is to create opportunity and ways for my community to up level their lives. You know, sometimes it has to do with, hey, take this supplement. Sometimes it has to do with, hey, read this book. Sometimes it has to do with, hey, show up and be here and be a part of this. And don't be afraid to risk a little bit, a little encouragement. If you're talking about business, goodness gracious, increase your skills, right? Have you noticed that skill increases helps with possibly your compensation package? A long time ago, Sean Croxton he now does this motivational stuff, but he used to be in my business, in the health business and what have you. And he read an enormous amount of books. That's one of the reasons why we started the Recreate Your Life series of book clubs, is because one of the things that set him apart, I believe, from a lot of other people was just the sheer amount of information that he absorbed and read. And as a matter of fact, it's kind of a recall theory on how you should be reading and then, spitting it back up. This is why using hot seats is so effective, and it's recalling what the book has taught you, kind of a thing. Well, that's one of the things that he taught me, is that you can master certain things simply by being a good reader and a studier, a good learner kind of deal. Because I was like, how do you know all this stuff? How do you know this much about this and that much about this? And he said to me in no uncertain terms, he said, because I read this was a really good book. I read this book and it really taught me about X, Y, and Z. And Srini's book, by the way, is one of the books he recommended to me, which is one of the ones that we're going to be studying this round in Recreate Your Life. So I look at this, and it's the law of compensation all over again. And it's the law of how we can train our brains into such a way that we can achieve mastery by being a learner, by being a lifelong learner. So here's an obscure but powerful trick. If you find an area where you struggle the most, you can become a solution to that problem, because compensation always follows problem solvers, okay? So find an area where people struggle the most and become a solution to that problem. This is menu mailer. Where people are struggling. What's for dinner? I don't know. I remember I wrote this email that got me a ton of email replies back. And it was this, and it was like, do you ever have like your husband call at 4:00 in the afternoon? You're at work. Your husband calls at 4:00 in the afternoon. Honey, what's for dinner? You feel the hair on the back of your neck go up. And then you're thinking, gosh, I don't know. And then you're on your way home from work, and you pick up the kids from daycare or whatever, and they're hungry and they're crying and they're picking on each other. And you run into the grocery store, hoping against hope that there's at least one rotisserie chicken left. And it's not. That was the problem. The solution was to menu plan, and was to do it in such a way that it created what they were looking for. A cohesive family meal at the dinner table. It's not leave it to Beaver, it's planning. And this is one of the things that I did. So when you decide to follow this idea of being a problem solver for what's out there, that's what happens. Lynn, I could say this to you. Lynn is a personal trainer. She problem solves for women who are her clients. They are looking for something specific, right? They're looking to get healthier. They're looking to get leaner. They're looking to get stronger. They're looking to be more mobile. What are they doing? They're seeking the solution, and Lynn is providing it. There's the law of compensation right there. Number 2 is to give without keeping score, but know that compensation is, you don't need to keep the score. It's sort of like there's this I don't know, celestial scorecard, if you will, because the universe, God, whatever, you can't ignore energy. If you are consistently giving, it will come back to you. And not always where you expect it to come back from, by the way. Not always. Um, and the other thing is if and I will use Nancy, if you are giving love, help, and service or value without attachment, the compensation comes back in ways that you don't expect it. She is an angel helping people who are at home delivering meals and helping out in different ways. And that compensation that she gets, isn't in the form of this, gigantic paycheck, but it's in the form of heart currency, of quality of life currency. Can we all see that? Can we start seeing that what we are putting out there is going to come back to us in ways that we can't even imagine? That's how I like to look at this, because we need to allow for the compensation to come back to us in the way that it's meant to, in the way that we are accepting of, and the way that our generous spirit can feel and understand that this is how God operates. This is his playing field, not ours. Being generous will never, ever, ever go against you and prove you to be, a sad person. It's not. That generosity that you have and that love that you put out is always going to come back in some form or another. So the other thing that we need to do so that we can operate sort of in this law is to identify where we're blocking our own compensation. Because sometimes people, they sabotage themselves and say, well, I just don't feel worthy of all of this. I don't deserve more. I have to struggle in order to, have X, Y, and Z happen. And there's not enough to go around, scarcity mindset. So the other thing that, this one is interesting, that some people get stingy because they don't believe that there's enough to go around. And I believe that when God serves the pie, there's a slice for everyone. There's not just enough slices. There's a ton for everyone. And when we have that idea of scarcity like that, we block this compensation. And it's really important for us to get out of this mindset. And when we understand, and here's some way that here's an affirmation to help us remove this scarcity mindset stuff. Here it is. I am compensated in perfect alignment with the value I bring. More value is more compensation. Isn't that beautiful? It is. And we're not sitting there counting up our pennies because of this. We're counting up the value that's being returned back. The gratitude from that is enormous. It's enormous. And yes, sometimes there is money exchange. And sometimes there is just this incredible exchange of beauty that happens, of life experience, of generosity, so many different things. We just need to be open to it. So what else can we do? We can elevate the energy that we put out into the world, right? It's that simple. We can choose our energy that goes out into the world. We can radiate positive energy by making a decision to do so. If we're feeling like we're in a really bad, awful mood, go into the mirror and do some mirror work. And start with your I am affirmations of who you are, of understanding that you're here on purpose and for purpose, that you're fearfully and wonderfully made. Bottom line, if that doesn't cheer you up, then you're not listening. That's true. If you're spreading this negativity or fear or whatever, guess what you're doing? You're bringing it all back into you. Is that the best you can do? If you're a farmer, are you going to go out there and take seeds that you know are not going to sprout and spend all your time reaping and sowing from that? No. We have to align our actions with the desired compensation. Here's something. if you want a better financial abundance, I was speaking with somebody who's saying, I really want to, I'm getting ready to retire. I want to make sure everything's together. Then guess what? You need to study what it is that you need to do. You need to seek out expertise. You need to say to your financial advisor or somebody, this is what I have. This is where I am. This is what I want to do. Tell me what, give me your expert opinion. Help me out with that. You can read books. You can become a master of this, according to Sean Croxton. Mastery. Can you imagine? Same with stronger relationships. Practice emotional intelligence. It will come. Emotional intelligence means that you are careful with the words that you say and that you are considerate upon whatever the situation is about. Sometimes just holding your tongue and saying a little prayer and holding that person close to you and saying that you love them regardless, and just allowing for even the silence. Sometimes that's enough. And if you want opportunity, guess what? You don't just sit there and wait for it. You take risks and go after it. That's what this law tells us to do. So, something that you can do every night is just say, did I risk? Did I do risky things so that I can go after this compensation that I'm trying to seek? Am I in alignment with that which I am seeking? One of the other affirmations that I oftentimes say, that which I'm seeking is also seeking me. And it's very powerful because it understands this law of compensations. So one final thought here is that compensation is always in motion, and you are being compensated right now for the energy that you've put out in the past. But don't let that freak you out, because the thing is, go away. Let me tell this. I don't want that to ruin my signal. When you put this all out, we change our value all the time, and our mindset and our contribution, when we understand that our energy is important and is the currency that we pay for in our life, always. So when we're looking for jobs, we are looking at compensation packages, aren't we? What if we did that with our lives? What if we did that with our lives and based that package on the good that we're putting out there? What if we did that? I want you to think about that, because that which you are seeking is also seeking you, especially if you are willing to put out as much goodness as you possibly can, doing it on purpose and for purpose. I love that. Thank you so much for being here today, by the way, and for listening to all of this. And do not forget you can join Recreate Your Life if you want to right now. savingdinner.com/recreate. I'll see you tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's just setting down the expectations tonight. You can still be a part of this book club. Pinkies up, Nancy. And don't forget about Take Back Your Energy. I am so excited about this course. I have so much to share with you on this one. It's self-led. You'll love it. Go to savingdinner.com/energy. Okay? Get all the information. You want that. Peace be with you. I appreciate you all. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.